Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of the 1st through the 5th. I will go over price targets, have a gap recap from June 24th through the 28th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is TLRY. We are at $1.66, down more than 4%. This is where we are. To the north side takes us to VWAP at 167 in the blue. Above that, at another level of resistance and potential take profit area and the baseline 170. Above that, another take profit area 174, 177, and 179. I do not anticipate we get to this level on Monday. To the south side, at another level of support and a potential buy-in area, 164, 162, and 160. Next up is NIO. I'm going to quickly go through this. I have many tickers to go through, so I'll keep this short as short as possible. We ended the week at 416, down 5.24%. VWAP takes us to 422, the middle of the trend, and another level of resistance, 426. This gap closes to the north side at 439, 450, 462, and 474. To the south side, 402, 390, 378. As far as the gaps go, this gap is still in play. It looked like it touched, but it did not. So this could touch on Monday. Very, very doable. We are in a downward channel, so that's easy to hit because I anticipate our levels to stay within -2 and 2 standard deviations all day long. This gap opened up, so this will continue into this upcoming week, taking us up to 463, but we are moving farther away from up here. Again, the channel is going down. And I forgot to mention, I am not looking at any gaps to the south side here, but the gap to the north side takes us to 208. We are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, but something to be aware of. Next up is SOFI. We ended the week at 661, up 1.07% to the north side, 667, 672, 677. VWAP takes us to 659, very close to the middle of the trend there at 658. Another level of support, 649, 644, and 639. Again, many levels of support and resistance within these channels here. Turn on your VWAP, your Bollinger Bands, draw your trend lines, play your patterns, dead cat bounce, bull flag, whatever it is. I don't play that. I don't track it. And maybe even you like to do the Fibonacci retracements, but I don't really do that, although I like to look at the Fibonacci, but I don't play off of the Fibonacci too much. But just something to draw in to give you a higher probability that your trade will work out for you. But I just play within these standard deviations and then get in and get out based off of 2, 3, or 4 standard deviations, or buy in at -2, -3, or -4. So that is SOFI. As far as your gaps, nothing really to write home about with the gaps, but the gaps to the upside are what I am tracking. But we are not in this channel, not in the zone, but the next one will take us to 786, long ways off. This gap closed out, and there are little teeny ones, but I don't bother to draw those out because they will be closed out by the standard deviations. Rivian. We ended the week at 1342, down 7.26%. We did run off of good news that Volkswagen was investing a ton of money into this company. So the stock ran, and obviously it ran and then fell back down again. All right, we ended at 1342. VWAP is at 1386, the middle of the trend, 1445, 1663, 1773, and should we be so lucky, but I don't anticipate getting to this level on Monday, maybe later in the week as we continue our channel going up, 1876. To the south side, 1226, 1114, and 1005. As far as the gaps go, this gap, this baby gap that I tracked, touched. So we gapped down here, and I always anticipate it to fill to the upside when it does, because this is within reach, and it touched right here. So we are done with this one at 1101 and close to resistance, support, and then a bounce off of that. And this gap closed out on Wednesday. That gap, oh my goodness, look at this. Began on February 21 and finally closed out on, again, Wednesday. Then this gap developed. We flushed up. What goes up must come down. So the gap will take us to $12, but we're moving upward, still within the range though. So we could flush down, get close to this, and then grind our way up. And then this gap takes us to 1776, and is that it? I think that's it for Rivian. All right, next one is TLRY. Oops. Stay on page. Option R. There we go, to reset. We ended the week at $16.16, up 0.37%. This is where we are. VWAP takes us to 1622, close to the middle of the trend. 2 standard deviations, 1643, 1652, 1662. To the south side, support, 1606, 1597, and 1587. Looking left for your gaps, this gap, which we gapped down, so when we fill, it fills on the way up and touched right there. And that took us to, I did a video earlier in the week regarding this one because I hit a sell limit on accident because I kept forgetting to change it. That's a problem. 1592. So I got stopped out basically here, and look at this. We ran all the way up here and then here again. Silly me. But I bought in at $14.95, sold out there. But I could have, had I paid attention and I wasn't busy and had a life, I could have stopped out there at 9.87%. And that's what I like, to get out around 10%. That's a nice number. I'll take 5%, okay? But 10% is even better. So let's see, you can't see that now because this is covering it. But anyway, note the sell-off at resistance there. And this gap is still in play, but we are moving farther away from that channel. And then this gap as well. I just extended. It's still within what I can see when I mark this out. So it's just easy to extend that out, and that way I don't have to go back and do it later. So I do still own shares at 1553 and then other shares for my mom as well. But I have not sold hers, and I probably won't. It does pay a dividend. Next one, Pfizer. This one's been whipping us all over the place. We ended the week at $27.98, up 0.65%. We are at VWAP to the north side, takes us to 28.31, 28.59, and 28.86. 27.76, 27.21, 26.94, and 26.66. Looking left, we have this baby gap. I don't know why I bothered to mark it out, but I did because they typically touch to the upside there. It did. 27.96, delete, no longer in play. Got as far as 28.81 and then started to fall down. And this gap, we tickled it here, but it is not complete. Extend that into the following week. Again, I have no idea where it's going to touch. I just extend it and then keep my fingers crossed that we get that high. So that's the next gap, and then we've, Command Z to reset. The next one after that is a gap within a gap, but it's this one. But let me just extend this for now. And there we go. We are in a downward channel with Pfizer. I'll fix that later. Oh, I think it keeps grabbing it. Next one is Intel. I'm also, let's see, I am in NIO, SOFI, TLRY, Pfizer, Intel, Nike, Boeing, and Tesla. All right, for Intel, we ended the week at 30.97, up 1.24%. To the north side, VWAP 31.01, 31.26, 31.46, 31.71. To the south side, back at the baseline, and this will turn into support, 30.84. This gap closes to the downside at 30.63. Excuse me. 30.41. At least my cough is going away. Thank goodness. 30.19 and 29.98. I think I bought in here at roughly, oh yeah, 29.59. Note this bounce at support, self at resistance. Nothing great to talk about in terms of a gap, except for this one, but that's to the downside. But that's very doable for Monday as we go down and then possibly ride back up again. And the gap, let me move this out of the way. This monster gap will take us to 34.95, but we are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Something to look forward to, but this thing obviously will continue to whip you around on the way up. But anything to the downside? No, I think, nope, thank goodness. At least short term there. I have a lot of public service announcements, as you can see, because I've tracked these tickers for so long. But anyway, 47.18 is where we ended for Schlumberger, up 0.36%. VWAP is at 47.27, is it? Yeah, 47.27. And above that, 47.67, 48.01, and 48.34. To the south side, the baseline and support, 46.98, 46.29, and 45.95, 45.60. CVS, and there we are again. Look at this. I do not believe that any board member should stay on the board for more than 5 years. I just don't think it's good for the association, especially when you've been on the board for 22 years and then you tell homeowners that you've only been on the board for several years. That's what our board president has done. It's incredible what she has done, which is a joke. I'm just joking about that. She needs to go, along with a few other board members on my board. Do you guys have boards like that? And the best way to get back at your board in a sense of making changes is to get on the board. And of course, they won't like that at all. And that's exactly what I did. And I know their secrets. All right, to the north side, 5914 at VWAP. And let me move this really quickly. 5914 for the VWAP again. To repeat myself, just did a Biden move. 5987, 6071, 6159, 5817, 5649, and 5567. 5481. Did you guys see the presidential debates? The debate, I should say, the first debate. What a wreck for Biden. He needs to just go bye-bye. And the Democratic Party should stop with their nonsense and tell us who the real candidate is and who really is controlling the government and who's telling him what to do, because the guy cannot think. I mean, literally, what person in their right mind thinks that he is capable of running the government? All right, I digress. So we've got a gap here that formed at 60 to the north. Okay, we flushed down, so we anticipate the gap to fill, and that will take us to 60, 62. And this gap, I think, closed out already. Let me redraw this. And I hate politics too. I just want to be left alone, stop wasting my money, whether it's the government or the HOA, and be accountable and be transparent and tell us the truth. That's all we ask for. All right, 6770 to the north side there. And, downward channel on the 5-minute time frame. Nike up next. Oh, poor Nike. What a disappointment. This thing tanked like crazy. Down 19%, but during the day, it was higher than that. Or should I say lower than that? Anyway, we ended the week at 75.37. Thank you to Murat for pointing this out to me earlier when it happened. And that was during the earnings report. We tanked. And I was busy, so then I made a video on it, but what a nightmare that was. Okay, so here are your targets, and this could be a buying opportunity, as Murat has said. So VWAP is 76.15, 78.29, 88.37, 93.52. This gap closes to the north side at 94.27, which is a nice opportunity now. And then 98.40. So if you thought that this thing was too expensive, well, it just got a reality check. Now to the south side, 68.25, 63.15, 57.95. And looking left, this gap, oh, look at this gap. Oh, look at that gap. Oh my goodness, these gaps closed. Yeah, it's been a solid week since I looked at this. from the last time. All right, so let's talk about these gaps. We ripped off the Band-Aid and they closed. That closed right there to the south side at 91.64, no longer in play, no longer a threat to our account to the south side. Obviously, there are many other threats like bad management and going woke. All you're doing is hurting the investors and the traders and the people that actually support you. All right, it touched here. I don't want to know the opinions of the company. I can formulate the opinions and read up, but I don't need you to go woke because all you're doing is hurting the bottom line and shareholders. And there are millions of us. Okay, that is no longer in play to the south side at $90.93. You know, people are retiring. They have accounts and 401ks and 403bs or whatever it is, and look what happened. I mean, if this were a huge how should I say this? If you had lots of shares of this and this is in your retirement account, this is not good. And what else? Let me just flip this over to the daily so you can see all the weeks I've tracked this. So basically every single gap here it looks like has touched, but I need to go through and clean this up. So I'll do that on a separate video or by myself as I go and work through these. But I think, yeah, look at this. We already fell below all of this nasty, but that's okay because I saw these. In some cases, anticipated them. And whether it's the news that creates this or whatever it is, this gap needed to be closed, and we did it. Even though most of us didn't want to do that or see that. Okay, that's enough on Nike. Let's take a look at HYG. Let me, Option R, reset this so I can see that better. We ended the week at 77.14 on a downward channel still, down 0.25% to the north side. Back at the middle of the trend, 77.26. VWAP 77.32. 77.47 and 77.54. To the south side, support 77.11, 77.04, 76.97. All right, to the gaps now. So this gap is still in play, taking us to 77.75. And this baby gap here. Well, no, not a baby gap. This is just a regular gap. So we fell down on Tuesday. So I anticipate a gap up to fill, and we did. And that took us to 77.39. Delete. Command Z. And this one touched, that one touched, 77.27. And then we have this one to the south side, 76.58. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, but If we do continue going down, obviously it'll whip us all around, but if we touch this line, that will be somewhere. Oops, where? Oh, it doesn't take me out because the calendar closed on TradingView. Or did it? Yeah, nope, I can't see it. All right, well, I'll keep track of that for you. The next one is Dash. Going down. So here are your targets: VWAP 109.10, 109.90, 110.46, 111.07, and we're basically at, excuse me, the middle of the trend and the baseline at 108.68, 107.48, 106.92, and 106.31. Bounce here basically at support, resistance, going back down a little bit, and then making our way up and then back down. Bounce at support. As far as the gaps for this week, nothing of note, but this is the gap I am tracking all the way up to 127.01. Not even close though. Gosh, I keep hitting the wrong button. I need to wrap this up. This is getting long. Nobody wants to watch a long and boring video. All right. So 182.01 is where we ended for Boeing. VWAP is at 182.33, 184.46, 187.31, 188.61, 190.06. To the south side, 180.38, and 178.97. As far as the gaps go, I need to clean this up. This one touched. Again, I just extend. I have no idea when it's going to touch, but it did right here, so that's why I'm cleaning this up. To the north side at 180.63, and we ran. Delete. Delete. And then we touched here on Monday out of the gate, right there. So that's done at 178.42. And look, we hit resistance, fell back down, grinding our way back up. And I always anticipate price, obviously, to go through the middle of the trend and the baseline, because if you're down here to get to the north side, you got to go through up here and then falling apart at resistance for a gradual uptick. And what about anything to the south side? I think we hit all the targets to the south side. So I don't know if that's coincidental that we're riding now to the upside because we hit all these gaps. Nothing keeping us down except bad news from Boeing and more quote unquote suicides. Yeah, I don't think these people are killing themselves. The witnesses. All right. If you haven't heard about that, Google Boeing and the trial and how many people have died so far. I think 2. Okay, and many whistleblowers coming forward too. 197.88, up 0.23%. VWAP takes us to 199.49. $200.94. 206. 208.63. 211.05 to the south side, 195.83, 193.32, and 190.67. As far as gaps go, this one touched right here, so we are done. That took us to roughly 193.44. And this gap, we are getting closer. For Tesla, finally, some good news for Tesla that we're running. And after that gap, we have many more gaps, but one gap at a time. We are in an upward channel on the 5-minute. Obviously, if you flip over to the daily, the weekly, the monthly, you're going to get different buy and sell signals. Check the RSI to see if you're overbought, oversold. And I love it when we are oversold on the monthly. That's when I do my investing. Is that it? Oh, thank the Lord. That's it. So that is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of the 1st through the 5th. And I will do an update maybe in the middle of the week if any of the tickers are running either to the upside or flushing to the south side. So have a great trading week.